Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host,
Eddie Nicholas, right here. Welcome to 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. Boom, 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 boom. Mr. Cruz, what is going on in the world of music and news today? I know it's a whole plethora of things, because last week, I know we were talking a little bit about, if I'm not mistaken, Jay-Z, correct?
Yes, we were talking about a bunch of things. Well, first, let us let our listeners and our viewers know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music tonight, but we're also your #1 source for music business news and trends from around the globe. Last time we were talking about TIDAL, and the mess that they're in right now. TIDAL just celebrated 1-year anniversary, and in talking about that 1 year and what it's been like, here at the Freedom Radio Hour, we're breaking down the tumultuous relationship that TIDAL's owner, Jay-Z, has had with its previous owner, a Norwegian outfit that he is now suing. Why? Because when he purchased TIDAL, he purchased it under the auspices that it had a certain number of subscribers, 540,000 to be exact, and it was valued at where he bought it for $56 million. Okay, so now after a year, they've done a very lengthy audit, if you will, and they uncovered that what they started with was like a fraction thereof. So roughly, we're talking about 300,000.
So we're talking about inflated numbers.
Yes, they're just smoke and mirrors trying to get the most to sell this company to Jay-Z, who then purchased it a year ago. Well, now, in celebration of their 1-year anniversary, he is currently filing a lawsuit with this previous owner, because he claims that after the audit, it came back that they only started at a lower number. Okay, so that's problem number one. After we were reported this and what was going on with TIDAL, and also the numbers that they're dealing with in terms of subscribers today, their growth, and how much they're actually worth, it turns out right after we talked about it, it was breaking news that Jay-Z tweeted out and then deleted a tweet that said, sometimes I think TIDAL was just a dream, but now it looks like it's Google's dream, which set the internet ablaze because it was essentially intimating that Jay-Z sold TIDAL to Google. And so that seemed like a slap in the face, because to many artists out there, especially independent artists, Google and the like big juggernauts like that represent establishment, and independent artists are anti-establishment in general. So I think that there's this feeling like, hey, Jay-Z, you started TIDAL under the guise that this was finally a product, a platform for the artist. They were going to get a bigger share of the proceeds from the sales of the songs through exclusivity. They even Eddie did some reporting around this, and they also share in
3%. All of the main top artists, like the who was Kanye's and Madonna's and all
Rihanna's and all them,
they all came in on a 3% share.
So 3% of the company they own, in exchange for allowing their content to be exclusively provided on TIDAL. But what we also uncovered is that to deal with today's climate in streaming music, TIDAL has also succumbed to the idea of windowing. What is windowing? It's again releasing product on one website for a spell. Then after that time period lapses, then you put it again, put it out on another site. So in TIDAL's case, for the longest time, they were saying, okay, you can only get, say, Rihanna's album from TIDAL only. You can't get it anywhere else. Well, now, Kanye West's album, who's also under TIDAL, his Life of Pablo album is just about to be released on iTunes and all of the competitors. So it kind of kills a little bit that
the
argument.
Exclusivity.
The exclusivity and that feeling like if you subscribe to TIDAL, you're only getting certain content from the artist that you love. Also, I feel a little bit hoodwinked because I follow Prince's philosophies in terms of what he feels the music business has become. And so for him to sign on to TIDAL, it seemed like he was sort of vouching for its fairness, if you will. So for this to happen, even if it's in a rumored stage, which is what it is right now, because he did delete that tweet, but the news has been a flutter now, talking about the possibility that TIDAL will be sold to Google.
Now, you know what? If I was Google and I came across a tweet like that, I would remove my offer from the table.
Okay, so talk about that. So so Jay-Z tweets this out, he deletes it, and you're Google. You would rescind your offer.
I most certainly would.
Why? Because you feel like he
Again, this is, you're getting ready to make 1.5, if I'm not mistaken, 1.5 billion dollars.
Yes.
That's a lot of money to be playing around with. And then coming from the background from how he allegedly got the company from the start.
To begin with.
To begin with. And again, Google basically could have done the same thing without having to purchase a title. Google is big enough where all of those artists that did not want to sign with Google that could have now have no choice. If Google decides to buy that company, they now fall under Google's ownership, or they're going to sell out and walk away with whatever that 3% of that $1.5 billion is. This is if this is true.
Right, of course. I did want to say that Google for a long time has had Google Play. So they have been trying to be a stream. They are a streaming outfit as well, but they clearly haven't made the dent like, say, a Spotify has, or even a Pandora or a TIDAL. So it's been a really interesting time period, and it's kind of messed up when if you're an artist that you have made this partnership with Jay-Z, and now all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, this is not really what it's made up to be, and now you're selling my material to, say, a juggernaut like Google. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about SoundCloud. Big news, because SoundCloud has just launched their own streaming service entitled Soundcloud Go. And we're going to break down exactly why it's a big fat no. Coming up next. Where?
91.6 FM.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What a beautiful people. I'm Eddie Nicholas, and I'd like to welcome you back to 91.6 FM. I'm sitting up here with my fantastic co-host, Mr.
Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right here at the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were talking about the latest in scandals regarding TIDAL. We're talking about Jay-Z and what happened after our last episode, where we covered what it's been like for TIDAL in its 1 year in existence. They just celebrated a 1 year anniversary. We were breaking down what's been going on in that last year. Jay-Z has since tweeted and then deleted a statement that intimates that he has now sold TIDAL, or is in talks to sell TIDAL to Google, allegedly. So that has created a big buzz, mostly for the negative, because people feel like if you're an independent artist and you believed in the philosophies around TIDAL and how it was finally sort of giving the artist more bang for their buck, if you will, and then you go off and sell this Jay-Z to a juggernaut, any juggernaut, it represents a slap in the face to some. But you were making a great point earlier, Eddie, before we started the show, about Jay-Z being a businessman and how we often forget that. And talk more about that. What do you say, and just in terms of the business that he's doing?
Well, just in terms of the business, he has found what he thought was a keepsake company, something that he could build upon and flourish. But I believe that after he found out what was going on in the trenches, he decided, well, I've made whatever little bit of money I'm going to make. Let me now do a business decision and get rid of it. Let me
get out of it.
Put out here and see who's interested enough to want to bite. And of course, you're going to get a Google or a Spotify to bite at it, namely because of the artists that he has on that roster now, the Madonnas, the Kanye West. Who else?
Well, Rihanna, Madonna, Beyonce.
The top 1% of entertainers. These are the top AAA tier entertainers. So with that being said, I can see a Google interested in wanting to purchase it. But as far as Jay-Z selling it, he has that right, because again, everybody wants to get a good business deal. And if I had somebody coming with me with $1.5 billion on the table, I would be inclined to want to sell it as well.
I agree with that. I also have a little bit of a different spin on this. I feel like you're right. Jay-Z has every right as a businessman to look to forward project. So it's a game of chess, as you can probably imagine. So that I can understand being a businessman, seeing an opportunity. Google might be interested, or you see an avenue for selling. And so you do that. I get that. But on the other side of it, it further cements my argument that we need to take the music game out of these like personal businesses, this privatized business. Why? Because this can happen at any moment. You put all your hopes and dreams in these platforms sometimes where you think, okay, finally, like look at SoundCloud. SoundCloud started, I'm a DJ as well. So when SoundCloud started, it started to be like this revolution for DJs who wanted to say remix, re-edit, mash up material. That means you take two different copyrighted materials and you put them together to create a new work. You don't have claims to it. You're not supposed to do it. It's illegal according to the DMCA, the Copyright Act. But you do it anyway. And SoundCloud kind of turned their back on that, and they didn't reinforce this, or they didn't delete your account, for example, if you were a DJ that was doing sort of these unauthorized edits and remixes. But out of that, there was a humongous community of people that came up, creatives, if you will, that had an opportunity now to do this kind of mashup, remix, and edit and not feel like they were going to be arrested or have their accounts jeopardized in any way. It was like a bit of a free-for-all, but it also allowed for some wonderful creativity. You had, as a DJ, I would download various mashups and remixes that I came across because they were fantastically done. And as a DJ, you really want to be able to bring something interesting to the table. But basically what ended up happening is this. SoundCloud figured they needed to become more attractive to like a Pandora. They want to become like a Spotify. They're not interested in the long term being this outfit that pushes the creatives in this way. They really wanted to transfer. To Eddie's point, they're a business. So they saw and forward projected and said, okay, we need to deal with the fact that we have this illegal material. It's only a matter of time before the labels come for us and require us to take the items down and or sue us for allowing and hosting the product, right? But they got over because part of the provisions of the DMCA, the Copyright Act, it's this clause, if you will, that explains that anybody who puts something on their website, they're not actually liable because you have to go and chase. If you're the copyright owner, you have to go chase down where the source file is. So just because I might have posted something doesn't mean that I originated that source. So it can come from anywhere in the globe, right? Anyway, so SoundCloud had to deal with that, so they started to cozy up with record labels.
Yes, they did, because I would say that when you said they started snatching people's stuff down, and that was one of the issues that a lot of people, that DJs were putting their mixes up. They started, if they heard a clip of something that belonged to what they felt was another label, they snatched it down.
That's right.
Because I know personally, I would post some of my own songs.
Right.
But because it fell under a name that did not match with whatever name was on the submitter's name, they snatched my own songs down off of SoundCloud, and that kind of got to me, because then you go and you contact SoundCloud and they would never respond back.
Right. And so the other thing that started to happen with SoundCloud is, as they were eyeing becoming sort of a Pandora and Spotify, they were putting up ads. So they had the ads, they were making money from the ads, and they weren't paying, say, the artists, but they were making money. And you figured there was a sort of a blind eye turn to that as well, because you figured, okay, although you're not paying an artist for the use of the content you're putting up, we understand you got to keep your lights on. So it was a sort of a one hand washes the other kind of thing for a minute. Now that SoundCloud wants to become this new streaming outfit, they run into a lot of problems. Namely, now that they've launched officially SoundCloud Go, it's basically going to be exactly like every other streaming service. I'll explain what that means. It's time for another break, but let me explain a couple of things of why this is not working and how this is further jeopardizing and further inflaming the Copyright Act and what people are starting to do about that. Let's take a break. Where?
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Be right back.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. You're deep in the zone right now at the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Mr.
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people? Welcome back to 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Yeah.
We're so glad that you came back to join us. Let's pick up where we left off, Adam.
Yes, we were talking about SoundCloud and their launch of SoundCloud Go. Essentially, it's a streaming service. You're going to gag. You ready? Ready for the roll eye, our scene around the world. So SoundCloud Go essentially is this. You pay $10 a month. You got unlimited access to their catalog. They're claiming that you could get the content offline as well, so you don't even have to have access to the internet. You could access material. You can share. You can create a playlist. You can blah, 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 blah.
Like all the rest of them do. Blah, 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 blah.
There's
blah,
no
blah,
difference,
blah.
right?
No difference.
But there's
and it's no difference in the price. Now, you want to be competitive, sell it for $5.
They're not even doing that. Okay? They're staying at $9.99 a month. They want you to sign up for SoundCloud Go. But there's a big open letter that's been distributed by an independent, a group of independent artists, and they're basically talking about the following. They're over all of the streaming music wars stuff because everybody's just kind of eventually dwindled out how much you can charge. To your point, it's gonna be $5 a month. Before you know it, it'll be like sign up for Eddie Nicholas Pro and you can get it for $3 a month. You know, it'll be that. And so until we really deal with this in a real way, which we haven't, but the biggest issue with SoundCloud Go is this. They have tiers like all the rest, okay? You have a period where it's low money or free trial, and then you got to pay, and then there's a premium tier, okay? So here's the big roll eye. So SoundCloud is saying, if you're an artist, there's a creator section. You go to click on the creator section. SoundCloud says, oh, are you a person that you want to get down and become a partner of SoundCloud Go? In other words, putting your material up and enjoying the revenue sharing. If you do, click here. There's a long wait list. We'll get to you. But they rolled out the red carpet for Sony, Warner Music Group, the big heavy hitters, the 1%ers. Okay? But for us independent guys, they put us on a waiting list to consider us to be a part of this premier partnership. Okay? They're saying that they have to do that because they have to do things in steps and see how they go, blah, 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 blah. But they're going to still, on the backs of the independent artists, still provide the ads and all that. So in other words, they're going to make money from you. But they're gonna make you wait in order for you to join them.
Because they want to see if you're somebody that's going to bring traffic.
Yeah, but you were good enough before you became SoundCloud Go. You were good enough to have your content on there.
Of course, but now they want to make money off you. So in making money off you, they need to make sure that you draw an audience.
Well, listen.
It's a mess!
Well, this has caused a big problem. There's starting to be a bubble up, but it's not towards the streaming music service as much as it is towards Congress and what we can do at that level.
And and again, we are the strong lobbyists for the musicians and the artists. They're not sitting at that table if they're allowed. If these companies are still being allowed to get away with the scandalous activity that they're doing in regards to bringing in monies. Again, people, stick to your Bandcamp page.
Yes, exactly. Because it's been reported several times that Bandcamp is bending over backwards trying to find out ways to bring more revenue directly to the artist. So applause to Bandcamp.
Yes.
But many of the others are doing the other way. What can we do to exploit this catalog and make a lot of money in ways in terms of advertising, subscribers, etc. So SoundCloud Go makes you join this long waiting list in order for them to even consider you independent artists to become a partner through their premier service. That is the only opportunity you actually have to make money. But for many years, they were making money off us independent artists while they built that before they became SoundCloud Go. So there's a big problem that's bubbled over. Now that what they're doing is artists are coming together to sign a petition. Thousands have signed already, and what they're trying to do is challenge the DMCA, the Copyright Act. There's a provision. See, here's the other thing. It's not only about having a certain amount of people or the right people there to lobby for what we want in the music business, but it's also to set the record straight around these clauses. You know, these secret back deals and these clauses and provisions are really what changes everything. So on the surface...
And robbing people of money.
Yes, on the surface, it might feel like, okay, this Copyright Act, this is really finally something that will protect us artists, but when you add provisions and clauses, it allows for booby traps, exceptions,
that
if you will.
Still benefit the whatever company is trying to get your material. It does not benefit the artist. It benefits the latter.
Right. And the other part too is for a long time, it's awfully out of date in terms of the technological advances in the music business. So the DMCA doesn't account for much of what's going on in the digital Wild West that we know of today. It couldn't even tell that was going to happen when it first came into existence. So artists have come together. They signed petitions to challenge DMCA around a particular provision called, oh God, I got to get the right wording here. Here's what it is. It's a provision that allows, here, let me look this up correctly. It's a provision that allows, it says the following. If you are a person and you have a blog, you post up a link to certain material that you come across, whether it's authorized or not, you post it on your site. The provision says that you, the person that put it on your blog or site, you will not be liable. In other words, they can't come for you. to sell that, but to sue you. But what they will do is they will say, okay, now the copyright owner has to go find where the source of the material is. So you can't come for the website, but you have to find where the hosting is, which becomes really, really hard. Okay, there used to be a time where it was only, say, but a few thousand, which was hard enough as it was. Independent artists started to hire lawyers to then look deep to see if they could issue takedown notices, and it started to be mostly against Google because Google is the biggest search engine in the world. So this became hugely problematic. So check out what's been going on. Let me just get this right. It went from in 2014, we were talking about Google alone received 54 million individual takedown requests. That was in 2012. By 2014, 2 years later, that number had grown to 345 million. Google says it's been receiving more than 17 million takedown requests a week. That's 17 million a week. So they're saying there's two sides of this. The one side is saying, look, we need to finally do something because all these takedown notices mean that the Copyright Act is not working. It's not benefiting anyone. And the idea that it's so easy now to just issue a takedown request, as you see, even on Facebook and stuff, you could just report and be done. It's simple. So it's the other side is saying that's proof. The spike in the numbers is proof positive that the DMCA's function is actually working. Whereas the other side is saying, listen, the numbers are rising because there's more illegal material up there that we cannot manage on our own because the provision says you, the copyright owner, have to chase down. It's not nobody else is liable but you, the copyright owner. So how do you do that without a large expenditure? That is hiring attorneys and such to help you. So now they're starting to come together to re-examine provisions like that to deal with it, because it's really what's killing these loopholes and such, kill any possibility for making money because it's protecting the wrong people. You know,
exactly.
So that's kind of what we want to break for today about. But keep in mind, Google all over the place for this information, and definitely visit freedomradiohour.com. We've posted all about the DMCA, that is the Copyright Act, and what's going on with these provisions and what artists are finally starting to do. But I think our biggest thing is that we are fighting the wrong battle. I think we need to really consider changing the way we consider music. I always talk about it. Maybe we can consider making more money through a public utility model, making it like gas or water, because at that point you take the privatization out of it, because JC can't go one day from the next and start to sell to a conglomerate anymore. It'll be done in another way. I think they're going to be proponents to this for a long time, but there's got to be something done that's not privatization, because as you see, it's so volatile from one day to the next off the backs of us artists.
I own it, I can sell it.
Right. Or I own a company and can sell it with your material
in it. And that's what Jay-Z is doing.
Right. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Freedom Radio Hour, your #1 source for music, business, news, and trends from around the globe. Check out EddieNicholas.com. Latest single is entitled One Time. We have the Do You Want to Dance LP coming out later this year. And of course, you have the Freedom album available everywhere at all your digital stores. And of course, at DJAdamCruz.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. See you next time.
Peace out. 91.6 FM, Heartbeat of Sudan.